Decoded.
Welcome, everyone, to this Book Decoded podcast episode. Today, we're exploring a story that starts almost absurdly, simply a slip on some ice. But it leads to, well, 2 decades of grappling with profound uncertainty. How does that even happen?
Well, we're digging into that through excerpts you sent us from Jonathan Gluck's book, An Exercise in Uncertainty. It traces his journey after that fall, unexpectedly revealed he had incurable bone marrow cancer, possibly multiple myeloma.
Right, and our goal here, our mission for this episode is to unpack that whole experience, not just the medical facts, but the surprising lessons about resilience, family dynamics, and, what it actually means to live when the future is so uncertain.
So it kicks off back in November 2002, New York City. He slips on ice, twists his hip. Seems minor, but the pain just lingers, gets worse over the next year.
Okay, so he finally gets an MRI, thinking maybe surgery, something straightforward.
Exactly. But then he gets that call, Dr. Weiner asking him to come back in immediately.
Oh, wow. And just like that, his world shifts on its axis. It wasn't the hip.
No, it was cancer. He was only 38. They had a 7-month-old daughter.
The shock must have been immense, that feeling of, this can't be real.
Totally. He talks about that initial denial, which, he later saw as a coping mechanism. He started searching for any reason, any explanation. Was it 911? His phone? Diet? Karma even?
That desperate need for a why.
Yeah, and doing secret rituals like carrying a stuffed tiger for luck, just grasping for some sense of control,
Yeah, it's so human, that reaction.
Yeah.
But then came the practical side, the absolute maze of the U.S. healthcare system.
Oh, definitely. He mentioned spending literally hundreds of hours just fighting insurance companies.
Just for pre-authorization. For essential scans.
For things like a PET scan, yeah. He tried logic, pleading, even yelling. Says success often felt random, just hoping the person on the phone cared.
And meanwhile, his wife, Dee Dee, she's facing her own huge uncertainties, right? Their future, their daughter, maybe losing him after she'd already lost her father.
The strain was enormous. He writes about these raw, incredibly tough conversations they had to have, even practical things like banking sperm, writing wills.
Difficult stuff.
Yeah.
He notes that cancer can really go one of 2 ways: for a marriage, tear it apart, or somehow make it stronger.
And their experience wasn't simple. They fought, sometimes badly, driven by fear and stress. They actually needed therapy to sort through it all. It really shines a light on what researchers call caregiver burden.
Caregiver burden. Okay, tell me more.
It's the very real, often overlooked stress, the anxiety, sometimes even PTSD, that partners and families go through when caring for someone seriously ill. The science backs this up. It's a heavy load.
That makes so much sense, giving a name to that invisible weight. Yet somehow, amidst all that, they found these moments of, well, joy.
They did, like having their second child, Oscar, years after the diagnosis.
That's resilience right there, isn't it?
Absolutely. And Jonathan found other ways to cope, too, like fly fishing. He found the repetitive motion meditative, calming.
Getting into that flow state people talk about.
Exactly, that total absorption in an activity. Research actually shows activities like that can be really beneficial during intense stress.
Right, especially, I imagine, during those awful waiting periods.
Precisely. A researcher, Kate Sweeney, calls it high-stakes waiting for test results, for news. And studies find that waiting period is often harder, more anxiety-provoking than getting bad news itself.
Wow, so finding flow can be a lifesaver during those waits.
Definitely a key coping strategy, and he needed it. He faced multiple recurrences over 20 years, intense chemo, losing his hair. It became part of his life.
Something he lived with, not just fought against. He even reframes that initial slip on the ice, doesn't he?
Yeah, incredibly. He wonders if maybe it wasn't just the start of the nightmare, but almost an angel's kiss, finding the cancer earlier than they might have otherwise.
That shift in perspective is powerful.
It really is. And through it all, he raised his kids, saw them go to college, found a huge connection in climbing a mountain with his son, taking them fishing. Living with cancer became, as he puts it, his skin now. Part of him, but not all of him.
And for the 20th anniversary, they didn't throw a party.
No, they fundraised for research, acknowledging the support they got, the lessons learned.
So those lessons, backed up by the research you mentioned, caregiver burden, high-stakes waiting, flow states, it all comes back to his main point.
Pretty much. That living with cancer, really like just living, is an exercise in uncertainty, but navigating it shows the value of knowledge, good support, resilience, and yeah, sometimes just plain luck.
So maybe the final thought for you, our listener, is this. What does embracing uncertainty, rather than always fighting it, teach us about what really matters? Thank you for providing the source material that made this deep dive possible today.